Welcome, my friends of the interwebs, and welcome to the Voodoo University, where you can earn your advanced degree in reality, in the real world. Okay, listen, what brings this video to being is I was in a very lively debate yesterday, late last night actually, with a, shall we say, a left-wing nut, you know. And, you know, we made the, I don't even know how I was put into the position of defending Bill O'Reilly. But you know what? I did, because Bill O'Reilly is the king of prime time on any of the news networks. He just is. It's the reality of it. Anyway, I was trying to explain to this numbnut how it is that Fox News kicks the snot, literally kicks the snot, out of all the left-wing media. And for some strange reason, he just wasn't getting it. He couldn't understand what I was trying to say. And he was thoroughly convinced that the numbers were bogus and that there was no way that anybody on Fox News could even come close to getting the kind of ratings that Rachel Maddow or Chris Matthews or Ed Schultz gets. And of course, I just shook my head and thought to myself, what am I doing? This guy's clearly an idiot. So anyway, today I was thinking about it because I have a theory on this. And you know what? In the comment section, you can tell me whether you think my theory is bullshit or not. But I have a theory on how it is that Fox News consistently kicks the snot out of the left-wing media. It not only kicks the snot out of the left-wing media, but I mean, it has been doing so for over a decade now. You know, and I also have a theory of what could change that. And if there's anybody in the left-wing media that has half a brain cell, you may want to pay attention to this, because I can pretty much tell you exactly what you need to do to be able to compete with Fox News. You know, take it or leave it. Now, also, if you are a shall we say a shareholder or a stockholder in Viacom or any of the major media companies that own some of these news outlets, you may want to pay really close attention towards the end of this video, because I've got something to say to you. I don't know if you'll like it, or maybe you will. Maybe nobody ever really presented this to you, but clearly your interests or your best interests are not being served by the board of directors of Comcast or Viacom and so on and so forth. Okay, listen, what you have here is a blank piece of paper, what I like to refer to as the liberal mind. Okay, and we're going to try to do something with this blank piece of paper to shed some light. You know, shed some light. So let the professor get to work here. I need to make a perfect circle. So I'm going to rely on my trusty Amtrak lantern from the days when I used to work for a living. I'm going to try to make a perfect circle. Now, I don't know how perfect it's going to end up being, but I am surely going to do my best to make this work out. Voila. Actually, not bad. Pretty decent for a perfect circle. Now, this circle represents market share. Market share in the world of television news. Now, outside of this market circle, I want to put Rush, and over here NPR. Okay, the reason I'm putting these outside of the circle is because I don't want anybody to get confused. This is television. We are not talking about radio. Okay, although Rush kicks the shit out of the rest of them, and well, we don't need to get into that. I don't want to confuse anybody. But the liberal-leaning NPR and the conservative-leaning Rush Limbaugh are off the table for all intents and purposes regarding this circle. Now, what I need to do, I'll explain why in a second, is split this circle in half. Okay, split this circle in half, and I'm not sure this is going to be exactly a 50-50 split, but okay. For our little demonstration here, that is a 50-50 split. I know it's a little over, but okay. Now let me zoom in a little bit, because I want to make sure everybody gets the big picture here. Okay. Over on this pie, I'm going to put Fox. Okay, just Fox. That's what I'm going to put. Oh, by the way, okay, this doesn't matter if it's prime time or any of that. This is just Fox News versus the left. Okay. Now, by the way, the reason I split this right down the middle is because it is for the most part an accepted fact that as far as the population in the United States is mixed, for the most part, most everybody accepts the fact that it's pretty much 50% conservative, 50% liberal. So what I'm going to do up top here is I'm going to put C for conservative, L for liberal. Okay. Now that has we're not going to narrow it down to hardcore left wing or hardcore right wing or any of the fringes in between. What we're going to do is just consider half this pie to be conservative, half this pie to be liberal. Okay. Now this pie representing, of course, ratings, representing a piece of the pie when it comes to the ratings numbers. So immediately you concede that Fox News gets 50%. Well, you will make it really simple. 50% of every dollar. Okay, make it simple. 50% of every dollar goes to Fox News. Because there's really no contenders. There's no contenders to any conservatives other than Fox. Fox News is it. They're in a sweet spot. They are literally in a sweet spot because they are it when it comes to conservative news, conservative values on any kind of news television show in the country. There's nobody that eats into this half of the pie. However, the liberal half of the pie, is a little bit different of a story, okay? Because the liberal half of the pie is split in several different directions. Okay, now I'm going to try to simplify this as best I can. I guess I need to make some more slices into the pie. Now, these aren't going to be exact as far as who owns what percentage, because it really doesn't matter in the end. But we're up here, we're going to put CNN. CNN, by the way, started the whole 24-hour news deal. I mean, Ted Turner, of course, notorious left-wing nut. I mean, he just is a huge supporter of the United Nations and every cause left-wing you can think of. But he started it. I give him credit where credit is due, because in all honesty, the man's a genius. Crazy as a shithouse rat, but a genius nonetheless. Okay, so CNN has a piece of this 50% pie here. We'll go with MSNBC. NBC. Okay. No. Underneath that, we'll just put NBC. Okay. ABC. And we'll put CBS. By the way, Al Qaeda's favorite news network. Only after MSNBC canned Keith Olbermann. And then over here we'll put the equivalent of NPR. I don't know, my brain's shutting down on me momentarily, but we'll put hell, I can't believe I can't think of it. But NPR will sit in for them for lack of a better term. It's Channel 30. Is where they do the telethons and all that crap. This pie here is split in several different ways. So if you have, let's just say a primetime show, and I'm not going to name everybody's primetime news, but let's just use primetime. Primetime for MSNBC is Ed Schultz, starting off at, I believe, 8, Rachel Maddow at 9, it doesn't matter. We'll just say Ed Schultz, the union thug Ed Schultz. He's going up against 50% of the viewers in this country watching Fox News. And then he gets a slice of the other 50% on primetime. So there's no way in hell he can compete with Bill O'Reilly. It's impossible. Because you got 50% of the country that's interested in conservative news watching Bill O'Reilly, and the other sliver is split up amongst everybody else in that time slot, the 8 o'clock time slot. There's no way that Ed Schultz can compete. Absolutely no way. That's why when you look at the numbers that Bill O'Reilly gets, which is a perfect example, and he's the king of them all, whether you like him or you don't, the numbers speak for themselves, he crushes, and I mean crushes, everybody else in his time slot. It's embarrassing because everybody else is eating from this side of the pie. Okay, now why does this really make a difference? Okay, well, Fox is in a pretty comfortable position because nobody's competing against them for that 50% of the market. When you control that kind of number, that you get paid more for your advertising. See, that's the other thing a lot of people don't really understand. You can have an advertisement on Ed Schultz, and let's say it's a Ford truck commercial, and you can have a Ford truck commercial on Bill O'Reilly's show. Bill O'Reilly's show, or Fox News, is going to be able to charge Ford a lot more money for that same 30-second spot. So it makes a huge difference that you own 50% of the market. Okay, and so basically MSNBC is dealing with pennies, literally pennies, in comparison. So MSNBC, I'm gonna pick on them. What the hell? I'm gonna pick on them. They're owned, I believe, by Comcast. Okay, and I think GE still owns a fair chunk of them. I think. I'm not positive about that. I'm almost positive it's Comcast. It may be another. It may be another, but I believe it's Comcast. So Comcast. Let's go down here. Okay, Comcast owns MSNBC. Now, I want you to think about MSNBC not as a news channel, but as a business. Okay? Comcast is a business. All right? The board of directors at Comcast make the decisions over here. Okay? They're literally the shot caller, ultimately in the end. Now, you've got the head of programming over at MSNBC and the other bigwigs over there who clearly are left-wing ideologues. Clearly, because they're not doing anything that would make them money, any real money at least. Comcast is apparently okay with the people at MSNBC being left-wing ideologues. They must be, because when they booted, you know what's funny, when Comcast first bought MSNBC, I thought to myself, this is interesting. And then shortly after that, very shortly after that, Keith Olbermann got the boot. He got showed the door. And I can remember thinking to myself, let me zoom in just a little bit more. This is Comcast's perfect opportunity to change the formatting over here, change the format and go with a more conservative or even a more fair and balanced like Fox. And regardless of what you say, Fox is a lot more balanced, fair and balanced than anybody else. I can guarantee you that. Okay? It was their opportunity to be able to take a bit of this piece of the pie. I mean, you're literally giving Fox a pass. I mean, you're giving them half of every pie that comes down the pike. That's just crazy. So I thought to myself, okay, they've made a good move by getting rid of Olbermann. It would be very interesting if they would choose a conservative to maybe fill in his time slot. Interesting. No, but what they did, what they went with instead was that nut job Lawrence O'Donnell. Doesn't he look like a reptilian to you? Like every time I watch him, it's like I kind of envision this fly going by and his tongue going, grabbing the fly out of the air. Anyway, now of course in his time slot is the union thug, But ultimately, what they've done, what Comcast has done, is doubled down, allowed MSNBC to continue to be left-wing nuts. And what's that doing for the shareholders of Comcast? Screwing them. Now, the reason I bring that point up is this. The world of shareholders has changed. Okay, because listen, the CEO of Comcast, they have a duty to make money for their shareholders. That's what their duty is. Their duty isn't to push some left-wing agenda. Their duty isn't to be some kind of a balancing act against conservatives. Their duty at Comcast is to make their investors, shareholders, stockholders money. They have a duty to do that, which they have not fulfilled, in my opinion. Here's why. Okay, this is what's happened in the world of investments. Because you have, let's see here, 401ks and other investment, retirement investment vehicles, most people who own stock, for example, you may have a 401k, you may even own stock in Comcast, but you don't know it. Most people don't. Most people have no clue about the stocks that are in the individual stocks, at least, that are in their portfolios, their retirement portfolios. Why is that important? Well, it's simple. You give up control. In the old days, if you owned shares of Comcast, okay, you would be able to vote your shares. It's called voting your proxies. Every annual meeting, you would have a chance to vote. There was a lot of power that went along with being a shareholder of a company. Now, unfortunately, because of the invention of 401ks and mutual funds and all these other investment instruments, retirement investment instruments, literally what's happened is that the individual shareholder has advocated his duties to make sure to keep an eye on the corporation. Now you have fund managers and whatnot, and you know, they're all running the show, most of which are in bed with one group or the other. In fact, you know, the funny thing is, it's not funny, it's actually kind of tragic. Wall Street gave an enormous amount of money to Barack Obama the last election, and they're going to give an enormous amount of money to him this election. Okay? So what's happened is you have less and less people in control of the corporations. And the corporations have been able to do whatever the hell they want to do. Most of which, to be honest with you, it has not been beneficial to the country. Because in the real world, the way it should work, okay, in the perfect world, I should say, you would have individual investors looking at the return of their investment on MSNBC, and they would be going crazy and threatening to throw everybody off the board that's in Comcast. And Comcast would have to react to that and do the right thing, which would be to adjust the programming at MSNBC. And all this, by the way, applies to CNN, applies to NBC, applies to ABC, CBS, you know, and public television. Okay? All of it does. Well, with the exception of public television, to be honest with you. Although, there's an argument to be made that Congress, and I guess they have been trying to, but this is a liberal program that once you get started, you forget it. Forget it. I'll back this up just a hair. Okay. Now, CNN, sadly, there was a moment there in time, a very short moment in time, that I really thought that CNN would turn it around and would start looking at this piece of the pie and get hungry, because they are on the ropes. They started this whole thing. It's embarrassing that they're sucking hind tit the way they are. Fox over here, Rupert Murdoch, laughing all the way to the bank. That's right, laughing all the way to the bank. So hopefully that sheds some light on how this whole thing works and how Fox manages to kick the shit out of everybody else in that news space. And apparently until these clowns get their act together, that's not going to change. People who have their money in 401ks, in mutual funds and all that stuff, listen to me. You have more rights than you think you do. You need to find out, if you have Comcast or Viacom or any of those, you have rights. You're shareholders. You have rights. Make some noise. Because if you're planning on retiring from the investment, or part, clearly not all of it from one investment, but if you're planning on these being part of your retirement, why are you giving money away? Because these people aren't doing what it takes to make freaking money. It's pathetic. And corporations are becoming more powerful because of it. Like I said, in the old days, individual shareholders could keep the corporations honest. Now it's not quite like that anymore. I'll tell you what. This might sound a little snaky, but let's try this. If you have a brokerage account, or if you have the ability to call your fund manager or your fund, you probably won't be able to talk to the manager because they're too busy on their yacht. Try to get some shares in MSNBC. I don't care if it's just one. Honestly, I don't care if it's just one. And then let me know in the comment section. And let's all of us get together. I'm going to buy some MSNBC, or Comcast. Let's verify that Comcast is the owner of MSNBC. But let's buy some of Comcast. I'm not sure how much it is. I'm sure it's not crazy money. I don't care if it's one share. And then let's make some noise as shareholders. How about we do that? Let's start making some noise as shareholders of Comcast to MSNBC change their programming and start trying to get some more of this pie. Could be interesting. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. Anyway, that's all I got today. Class is dismissed. Everybody take care. See ya!